Greetings and welcome to the new era of what you would used to know as Radio Free Professional Wrestling, but now we are all Elite Radio, and we're coming to you literally 24 hours after AEW Worlds End. Their world might end, but we're on to a new chapter. Ashley, how you felt with the new era here?
I'm feeling pretty good. I think this is going to be a pretty cool change. It'll be pretty cool to see how this goes.
Well, no time like the present. We are starting with the 0 hour matches. And Ashley, before we get to 0 hour matches, there was only literally 11 matches on this World Ends card, and we got done by 11:30. What the hell are we doing?
I don't know, but it's funny to say only 11 matches on this card. Like that's a small amount or something when we see like the WWE pay-per-views that are like, or PLEs that are like maybe 5 or 6 matches tops. Tony Khan put some restraint on himself this time around. It was it was pretty nice.
Okay, so our first match in 0 hour is our new rookie, Tony Storm, taking on Layla Gray. And I gotta say, it was a 50-50 kind of booking match here. Layla Gray did get some offense on the new rookie, Tony Storm. But in the end of the day, Tony Storm got lucky with a roll up with Layla Gray, so she might be onto something.
Yeah, no, Tony Storm, what a kind of like a main pay-per-view debut here for her. I love everything she's doing. I'm just gonna say that. And I just want to compliment Layla too, because I think she looked so much improved after her time in Japan. I think it's doing wonders for some of the women here in AEW.
Between her and Anna Jay, I feel like they have they have improved so much over the course of a year, and that assertion to Japan has helped them so much. I would literally send a lot more of the AEW talent over to like the New Japan dojo in LA and let them have like 3, 4, 5 months there, because it's the proof is the pudding. Leia Gray is just she's gonna be a star in AEW.
Yeah, especially paired with somebody as young and upcoming as Top Flight. She's only going to get better, and let her continue working like this, and the results I think are going to speak for themselves.
Well, after this match, we had our young rookie Tony Storm backstage when Deonna Purrazzo came up and challenged her to a match on AEW Collision coming up this Saturday night. A first time ever meeting between Deonna Purrazzo and Tony Storm.
They say never, right? So we're finally getting this dream match.
So we'll talk about that next week on the show. On to the second match of 0 hour. It's Jeff Jarrett versus QT Marshall. And I might say the most controversial thing I have ever said on this podcast. QT Marshall does a better stroke than Jeff Jarrett.
You're going to make a lot of people angry with that one. Jeff Jarrett, of course, as you know, the most over wrestler on the entire roster, aside from like Will Ospreay. He got one of the loudest pops of the night.
I mean, I know he's the last outlaw. I know he's done this move like a million times, but if you go back and watch that match, QT Marshall's stroke looked a lot better than Jeff Jarrett's. I'm sorry.
Listen, QT takes too much flack, and I think through and through, he's a very good professional wrestler who just I don't know why people don't want to embrace kind of like that side of professional wrestling. Like I love like I've said, we've talked about like the kind of like, not so serious side of wrestling before, and it can be very enjoyable. And I think QT is a perfect combination of being able to do goofy, but being able to be good in the ring.
Very true. Now, after this match, backstage, they had Jeff Jarrett with Jay Lethal, Sunday Duck, and Jeff Jarrett told us every year about this time he evaluates his career, and just coming up Wednesday night on Dynamite in Nashville, North Carolina, he's going to make an announcement about his future. So Could he be calling 2025 the last year for the last Outlaw?
Listen, we can't take another blow. Like between 2024 and 2025, if we lose Sting, Brian Danielson, AJ Styles, John Cena, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Jeff Jarrett, that's like a generation's worth of wrestlers gone in 2 years.
Okay, so the main event of Zero Hour was our 8-man tag match. It's the Outrunners with Top Flight versus Leo Rush, Ashley Andretti, and my new favorite tag team, Murder Machine. Is you get Lance Archer and Brian freaking Cage.
It's nice to see them get a higher profile gig with Don Callis. I'm hoping they get to be a little bit more than the big monsters who eat the pins. Uh, they won this match, obviously. Well, Leo Rush won the match, but I want to see them kind of make a dominant run. Don Callis has been had a hand in making Konosuke Takeshita a top guy, Kyle Fletcher a top guy. Like, let's get these guys to be top guys as well.
Well, I gotta say, the Outrunners are the most over tag team in AEW. It proved it again last night. Orlando was so there for the Outrunners, and the fact that they spent some time and did the 80s version like treatment to the video as they're coming out to the ring, chef kiss. That was freaking great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's hard to not love the Outrunners.
Now, Leo Rush did get the pin here, but my thing, Leo buddy, the last two people on this planet I want mad at me is probably Brian Cage and Lance Archer. So you do you, but I'm not going to tag myself into that match.
Yeah, especially with how angry Lance Archer was on the back end of that.
Now, the thing out of this is Private Party comes down. So one of these teams that we saw in this 8-man tag is probably the next challenger for Private Party. Is it too soon for the Outrunners? Do you want the Outrunners or do you want maybe Ashley Andretti and Leo Rush?
I feel like the push is more for Leo Rush and Andretti right now. It feels crazy though that to have them leapfrog Top Flight a little bit.
It does. Here's the second question for you. Do Private Party feel like a legitimate tag team champion since their win over the Young Bucks?
This has been kind of something I've seen talked about a lot online. Like, where are they? Like, why are they not being presented? Again, this is something that AEW, for some reason, for a company that kind of built its foundation on tag team wrestling and boasting the the best tag team division in the world, I feel like it struggled to find a direction. And Private Party winning was like a very feel good moment, but we haven't seen much from them on the outside of that.
Very true, because it just made me wonder if maybe they're just keeping the belts warm until they decide who's going to be the next AEW tag team champions.
It does feel a little bit that way, and it shouldn't, especially with how long it took Private Party to get to this moment.
Very true. So we're on to the main card, and I gotta say, they picked the best match to open the show up. It's Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. And if you ever seen the term Crimson Mass, Will Ospreay was 1980s professional wrestler Crimson Mass within 5 minutes of this match starting.
Yeah, he cut a little too deep into that one. That was a little bit scary, actually. He was like gushing blood out of that wound.
This match was my probably second favorite match on the card. We see Will Ospreay win with the style clash for the first time in a long time, so that was pretty cool. And the ending sequence where they were countering out at each other's finishers was amazing.
I feel like every time AEW's had a pay-per-view this year, all we can do is gush about Will Ospreay. Like, I mean, he just goes out there and he kills it. And Kyle Fletcher this year, I am genuinely like almost afraid to see what this guy is going to be next year because if he is not a top contender, AEW is doing it wrong.
Well, the one thing I was thinking about after this match ended was I kind of wanted Kyle to win here, and I was thinking like, why are we going with Osprey? But if you go to the next match, you understand why we did it. So I feel like this match did enough to keep Kyle Fletcher hot, and I feel like he's going to be your 1A heel in 2025 for AEW. I feel like he's going to be kept up there in the main level. But our second match of the night, Okada versus Ricochet. And who would imagine that all you need to do to flip Okada face was to put him in with Ricochet? And Orlando was just happy to see Okada smack the taste out of his mouth.
Just smack him right in the back of his bald head.
Oh, hey, Orlando had a great chant. They had a song and they ended it with "You are bald." That's
Yeah.
that's cracking up.
Yeah, they had a few bald chants for Ricochet.
But Okada gets the victory here, and after that match, Ricochet is standing in the ring. Here comes first one out with Prisnana. Prisnana has a will basically a wagon, a child's wagon full of toilet paper, and first it starts him to go down to ringside and hand out to the first row, and we literally see there's a vast amount of toilet paper flying to the ring, covering Ricochet as Swordsman cuts a promo, and like he said, he was going to embarrass him. Now, was it as big as he thought the embarrassment would be?
um, I think it's bothering Ricochet more than more than he wants to say. But we saw the rage in his face. He did not look happy, covered in toilet paper, standing there in the ring. So I'm interested to see. I'm ready for Swerve versus Ricochet. Like, bring that on.
I am too. I'm ready to see this match happen. I just kind of felt like this is a little bit outside Swordsman's character as what we've seen in the last year and a half with him in AEW. This was more like comedy babyface like move on a heel. I was thinking maybe Swerve would came down there after the match and just beat the hell out of Ricochet and leave him kind of like a bloody mess.
Right, especially coming off some of his feuds from earlier this year.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe, his match with Heyman Adam Page, that no DQ lights out match. I don't think they would have used toilet paper in that match. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think Swerve is probably one of the best at knowing how to get under the roster's skin. And while being maybe a bit goofy, I think he knows how much it's going to bother Ricochet, and maybe he's trying to over anger him, kind of matador him into something here.
Yes, very true. Okay, so we had two great matches back to back. And unfortunately for our next match, it was a Tijuana street fight between Mariah May and Thunder Rosa. And this match suffered from poor match placement. These two ladies went out, tried to have a great match. It's just impossible to have a great match after you saw Fletcher versus Osprey and Okada versus Ricochet. I really feel like this match should have been flipped with the next one, and maybe the crowd would have been better. But to me, I feel like the crowd needed a break, and this match was the one they decided to take a break on.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes too we've seen the AEW, especially the World Women's Championship in that slot. I mean, still a really good match. The women always kill it with these hardcore plunder matches, and no different here. Like you said, though, I think I might have switched it to get the crowd a little more behind something so, like so hardcore. And, that's the match I would figure you'd want people to be like rowdy for and everything.
Very true. We did see Mariah May take the cane from Fernando Rosa's father. She didn't get to use it, but Fernando Rosa used that on her. We also saw the piano in the ring, and that was filled with tacks. And I gotta say, the Mayday onto the tacks, that was sick.
Yeah, that looked brutal. Just there was so much in this match that looked especially at the end. Oh, the finishing, oh, the finisher, the pile driver to that table looked, oh, I do not envy Thunder Rosa today.
No, she was a champ for taking that through the table. I was happy that was the finish to the match. It was a nice finish. Now, my question coming out of this is who's next for Mariah May? Because we're probably holding off on her versus the up and coming Tony Storm for when they go down to Australia in February. But we still have like 5 weeks here. We gotta have a match for Mariah.
Yeah, and I feel like we've kind of had her already be kind of some of the usual women. I would say you have stepped up to challenge and kind of usually take that L. We did see Tay Conti's coming back soon. Maybe she could be a surprise challenger.
That could be an interesting choice. I would think that would probably work well. Besides that, I don't think there's anybody else that Mariah May hasn't faced yet that's free to have a match with her. We're going to move on to the next match. And honestly, this match could have been on Dynamite or Collision, and I would have been perfectly happy. As we're talking about the Diamond Ring match between MJF and Adam Cole, baby. The coldest feud in AEW history.
Yeah. This was such a weird one. AEW had the chance to just run with Adam Cole as a heel when he came back, and they didn't because the fans just really loved him when he came back. Like everybody had just missed him. I think they should have either just ran with him as a heel or just dropped it when he came back when he was a baby face. It's been really tough to make this transition, especially when MJF is still not really technically wrong in this feud, but is the bad guy who we're supposed to be booing.
Yeah, and I had a feeling about this feud a while back. Like, really, they have gone out of their way to try to retcon everything around to make it make sense. And both these guys have done so much heavy lifting, tried to keep this feud interesting and going. We literally should have just put it into the trash bin once Adam Cole broke his ankle, and we should just move on, like you said. So I'm hoping after we saw MJF get the victory here after a little shenanigans as he got Matt Taven and Matt Mike Bennett thrown out from ringside, we see MJF go for the ring. He doesn't use the ring. He low blows Adam Cole. 1, 2, 3. But after that, we see Roderick Strong come down and make the save. Then MJF bells up the ramp. Oh, wait a minute. Here comes Kyle O'Reilly. It's the undisputed. Wait, I'm sorry. The undisputed kingdom come down, and it's like a 5-on-1 beatdown on MJF. Is MJF the babyface now? Question mark.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of weird things. First of all, I want to comment on the ridiculous call of Bryce Remsburg throwing out Mike Bennett and Matt Taven from the match after not seeing them hit MJF, after believing MJF in the first place. Bryce Remsburg, what are you doing? I've watched you blatantly watch people cheat and not throw them out. Like, I'm flabbergasted at the choices AEW makes with the referees sometimes because it truly makes them look incompetent.
And my thing with Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, I would have grabbed the ring and went up the ramp and been like, okay, fine, we'll leave, but we're going to take the ring with us.
Right. I mean, and then you have, like you said at the end, Kyle O'Reilly comes out. And apparently all those weeks of him being mad at Adam Cole are all for naught because now they're just friends again. Like they just seem like they're on the same page. I don't want Kyle O'Reilly gone from the conglomeration, so I'm a bit disappointed actually that we're bringing him back into this. And like truthfully, I think the thing that bothers me the most is I don't think they're done with this. I think they are continuing this.
I hope the hell not. I hope this is the end. We had MJF get the victory here. We see Adam Cole get the beat down after the match. Let's move on to two separate feuds, please, and thank you.
Like I said, I just don't think they're going to. I don't think they're ready to separate them because they still like. I mean, you can do it, but everything is like you might as well just cut your losses right now because nothing makes sense. Because, like I said, MJF is not technically wrong, but we're supposed to be booing him. Now he's getting beat down, like you said, 5-on-1. Like, okay, I mean, what am I supposed to say? Like, yeah, like go baby faces. Like, I don't know. It's Adam Cole wasn't a good guy throughout that whole duration either, and even Kyle O'Reilly pointed it out.
Exactly. I'm just happy that we had the match and I got my fingers crossed. But the match that got the crowd back into it is the next one. And we're talking about the international title match between Tatesha and Powerhouse Hobbs. This match freaking rocked. These two guys are two future AEW World Champions just waiting to happen.
Yeah, I think we've all seen how good Takeshita is over, the past couple of years here. Um but I mean this was like a I'm making a statement performance from Will Hobbs, and it was great to see because coming off that big injury that, he was out for a long time, he's been having some good showings, but to be able to go out there against Konosuke Takeshita, who's got to be considered one of the top professional wrestlers in the world right now, was great, and I'm excited to see where he goes from here.
Well, I got a feeling that we'll revisit this down the road, probably. But the end of this match, we see Will Hobbs re-injure his knee halfway through the match. He was trying to climb up the ropes to do a move on Katesha, and that played into the story because Katesha focused on the knee from that point forward to a point where Will Hobbs decides to take his knee brace off because to release the pressure on his knee, and he almost eats a finisher, but he turns it into a spine buster. But the effect of that landing on his knee causes him to lose the match to Tatesha.
Yeah, and I'm I'm hoping that it's a kayfabe injury. I haven't seen anything about him being actually injured as of yet. But I mean, Konosuke Takeshita, I mean, he j- just along with like some of the biggest names like Osprey and Danielson and Saber Jr., I think have had just one of the best years this year. Um, AEW's got to that he's another guy who needs to be moving up in the title picture sooner rather than later.
Yes, I would be buying all the Tatesha stock I can find because he's going to have a great 2025.
Oh yeah, and I believe he's about to be a double champion. I think there's a real chance.
Yes, I would say I would bet he's not the house, but I would bet some car payment money that he might be a double champion inside of 8 days.
I'm ready for it.
Okay, so we're on to the third to last match of the evening as we're going to the TBS Championship as we have Mercedes Monet, the CEO, versus Chris Statlander. And I gotta say, this match was just as good as the one they had at Full Gear. And I gotta say, Mercedes Monet has put her critics to rest because she's freaking back on the ball. She's got the mojo back. This was the best Mercedes Monet's match I have seen in AEW.
Her and Chris Statlander, like they have something, and AEW needs to capitalize it and build on it. They can separate them, and Statlander lost this match fair and square. You can have them separate for a little bit, but these two need to be intertwined, especially for this TBS title for the foreseeable future, because these two matches these women have had, like you said, truly some of the best matches, not just in Mercedes' catalog here in AEW or Chris Statlander's, but just in AEW's women's division in general. And production had, of course, some issues. It's an AEW show, but I thought the camera work for this match was very good. They had a lot of like the timing things, especially when Statlander popped back in the ring during the count from the ring. Just a lot of really good visual stuff, and Mercedes Moné just the perfect heel.
So true, so true. Okay, so we're going on to the semi-main event. We get a match I didn't think we would be getting so soon in AEW history, but we got Will Ospreay versus Okada, and this one was freaking amazing because a lot of people, since Okada's arrival in AEW, has been wondering where's the New Japan Pro Wrestling Okada. Well, we got him tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's very strange how many people sort of ignore how comedic Okada's been throughout his career, even while being one of the best wrestlers in the world. This match, of course, very good. Truthfully, I would have, I think, main evented my show with this, but it's very. When Ospreay won, I kind of thought it was his night.
So you're thinking Ospreay would win the title from Okada at the end of this Worlds End pay-per-view.
I did, because I originally thought Kyle Fletcher was. I thought it was his tournament, man. when he lost out, I was like, man, all right, maybe Ospreay. But the continued reign on Okada, especially with the rest of the elite sort of in shambles, not really around, they're not champions. I thought we had a shot at Ospreay taking it.
I know we were talking about it on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. I am kind of happy that Ospreay isn't going to this Continental title. I feel like Ospreay is going to go, like you said, towards the AEW World title.
And honestly, he needs to.
And honestly, he needs to. I think you can. I can think you can get Kyle Fletcher versus Okada, and we can slide this title over to Kyle Fletcher later on, early in 2025.
Yeah, like you said, the Australia show's coming up, and obviously he's going to have a big role in that show.
Yes, exactly. And he's going to be a major babyface. And why not have him face Okada and to get this title up Okada? Then we can raise Okada up to the AEW World title level as well. Because I feel like before
Turn him back into babyface, reunite Aussie Open in Australia. Do it.
Yeah, you can do that. Or you keep Kyle Fletcher a heel. Well, not in Australia, but once he gets back to AEW TV,
I was gonna say it might be tough there.
Might be tough there. Yeah, true. Fair point. But this main event, if they would have ended with Ospreay versus Okada and Kenny Omega came down to put the belt to Okada, I would have been perfectly happy. But
genuinely, like I said, I would have personally switched it. This is the one time too you honestly have the perfect excuse to swap the world championship for this match to be the main event. Yeah, hey, they've already wrestled a match. We want to give them as much time as possible in between their second match of the night. We also had a return at the end of the main event. We'll get into that in a minute, but I will say, like, I'm happy to see Kenny back, but I am a little disappointed we didn't get to hear from him.
me too, because I feel like that crowd would have wanted to see Omega do a short little talking segment. But what they got was this main event 4-way match, which I feel like could have been on Fight for the Fallen this Wednesday night in Asheville, North Carolina. Simply for how it ended. It began with the four guys in the ring, and our unlikely trio were working together so well. They did a triple power bomb on Jon Moxley to get him out of the action. But Hangman Adam Page decides that's the time he's gonna go for the title, and he nails Orange Cassidy. He toss Jay White into the ring, and from that point on, the Death Riders had the advantage because they came out and interfered in the match. It felt like a freaking House of Torture match.
It genuinely did a little bit. You know my love for these guys, and this match, this is another. Before we got on air, I said there was a few underwhelming points to this pay-per-view, and this match was definitely one of them. For the talent we had in the ring, I don't know, it was kind of just the most predictable way of going about this match, I guess. It's just like it went exactly as I had imagined the entire match would go, minus the Blade Runner to Marina Shafir, but I'm glad we finally got to see at least that. And this all kind of just felt like a vehicle to get to the post-match stuff.
Exactly. And this is why this match could have been on this Wednesday's Dynamite in Nashville, North Carolina, because we see FTR come out, the lights go out, and do you think you know him? Adam Copeland makes his return, and we have a 3-on-3 stare down between rated FTR and the Death Riders. Actually, this could have been the main event of Fight for the Fallen, and we could have had the crowd go home happy at 2 shows.
Yeah. I'm excited Copeland is back. We'd heard he was ready and he was cleared a few weeks ago and that he'd be back soon. So like I'm happy to see him back. It feels very weird because it even feels weird to have FTR. Like FTR has been so weird about the Death Riders. Like they are like, yeah, it's really inconvenient. They tried to like murder some people, but like we don't really have any personal beef with them. Like it's like you don't have any personal beef with that. Okay, FTR, that's cool, I guess.
Honestly, there's a point when FTR came down there, I was thinking they're going to join the Death Riders because, like you said, they said, "Hey, we have no problem with what you want to do," and I'm going like, "Wait a minute, you guys are baby faces, right?" But
And that's what I mean, and especially because like the whole point of this like Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy is like, oh, we're defending AEW, and FTR are some of AEW's biggest cheerleaders, especially Dax when he's cutting promos and he's talking about how much he loves this company. You would think he would be one of the top people to take this personally.
very true. If this match felt so WWE light, it felt totally out of place to this AEW pay-per-view, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it felt very short too for a match with what you would consider four of their top guys, if not like like four of their like probably top like six guys that I would choose right now. Um I like you said, very underwhelming, something that I felt like could have either swapped this and have Kenny Omega close out the show, maybe give him time to say something at the end of the night to end the show. Even that would have sent people home, I think, more happy than. Well, Copeland obviously made people happy, but it'll be interesting. But I feel like this has got to be kind of like the quick filler match for Moxley until the next pay per view.
I agree with you because the next pay-per-view is Revolution. We know it's March 9th. Is in Los Angeles, California. So we have some time to get there. And like you said, I feel like Adam Copeland versus John Moxley is what they're going to do to get us to whoever is next. My thing is,
And I feel like they've already kind of telegraphed what's going to happen with that a little bit. Like Christian sitting in the crowd, I feel like Copeland and Christian, a lot like Orange Cassidy, Hangman, and Jay White, their personal issues are going to cause them to maybe both lose out on this championship opportunity.
honestly, I have a feeling that we're going to see Adam Copeland get the pin on John Moxley somewhere down the road and be AEW World Champion for about 5 minutes or however long it takes Christian to run down to cash this contract in, and he's going to be the champion defeating Adam Copeland.
And I just want to say what a highlight Christian was, even though they were just showing him in short camera shots while he was sitting up in the crowd, because that man is a master of facial expressions. And his face when Copeland came back, he looked like an angry Muppet, and it was so funny.
I know, it's kind of like, man, I thought I dealt with this problem. Now here he's back again. I got to do something better now. So heading into this week's Dynamite, your main event is going to be a trios match with Rated FTR versus the Death Riders. I'm excited for that match. And on Saturday, you're going to get Danny Garcia versus Mark Briscoe for the TNT Championship. And we get the Deonna Purrazzo and Toni Storm match.
Yes, some big matches coming up.
So I was happy they did some promotion for the shows coming up here next week on AEW TV. Now, Ashley, after all these matches, all 11 matches, did you feel like this pay-per-view was worth the money or not worth the money?
I would say overall, I still enjoyed it more than the dull spots. So I would say it was worth my money, especially for honestly the Will Ospreay through, and for Chris Statlander and Mercedes Moné. Like, come on.
Okay, so I posted this on our Twitter account at All Elite Radio, and I have responses. 63% said this pay-per-view was worth the money. 37% said it wasn't worth the money. So we have more positive than negative. So I say this was a fine show. If you want to go back and watch this, you really only need to watch 4 matches. It's the first 2 matches. Then it's Okada versus Will Ospreay, and don't you dare miss Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné.
Yeah, like you said, overall a very good show. AEW shows rarely miss in the ring. A few dull spots, but it felt like a lot of story stuff coming out of it. So I'll be interested to see where this big show goes with the new simulcast this week.
It's going to be a very interesting week in AEW TV. Ashley, where can we find you on the Super Information Super Highway?
Mostly posting on Blue Sky. It's at groovyash.bsky.social.
And you can follow this podcast on Twitter at All Elite Radio. If you haven't done it already, follow us, tell a friend about the show. We appreciate it. And until we see you next time, stay studying.